Okay, we're live. This is the OSRA Daily Scrum for Wednesday, February 4th, 2015. Here is Christian and myself. Christian, you want to tell us what you did?
Yeah, well, didn't do much today. Actually, I didn't do anything today for the OSRA. Yesterday, I worked on I helped Brian a little with the menu, with the left menu to move it into a different partial, so the code is cleaner, and he moved that into his branch, and he continues to work on it. So
Okay.
that's about it.
Actually, I had a question about that. I was just looking at that pull request. Is there a reason why, instead of doing everything in the view, there is the hash that's defined in the controller? Because the hash for the nav buttons is defined in the controller and then passed to the view. Could you not just do everything in the view?
Oh, I don't know about that. That's Brian worked on that, but
Okay.
I guess that's easier to change and add buttons, remove buttons. You just add a new field to the hash.
Yeah, I suppose. All right. So I did what I had. Three of my pull requests merged today. One was about being able to destroy sponsorships. That's something the client requested for the cases where they create a sponsorship with wrong details. And then to follow that up, because that pull request, I sort of slapped it together out of the kind of reusing as much as possible the code that was already there, but it wasn't very nice, so I did a bit of refactoring on it as a separate PR. And then my last PR was just to, when you run an RSpec and you have a failing test, the backtrace usually has a lot of data from database cleaner, which basically doesn't help you at all. So I changed the setting for the RSpec config to suppress everything related to database cleaner from the backtrace. So the backtrace should be cleaner and should kind of let you see more easily where the error is coming from. And that's it for me. I'm not sure what I'll be working on next. I'm still looking around and reading about service objects, and I'm thinking of trying to use one for sponsorship creation.
Service objects?
Yeah.
What are those?
Service objects, so basically, let's say when you create a sponsorship, you don't just create a new sponsorship record, you also need to update the sponsor.
Yeah, the relations, yeah.
Right. And basically one way to do that is, the way it's done right now is with after save hook callback from the sponsorship model.
Mm-hmm.
But another way to do it would be, for example, if you had in the controller, you had a sponsorship create action in a controller, and as part of that action you have create sponsorship and then update sponsor and then update orphan. But basically, either way, you have either the sponsorship controller or the sponsorship model that has to kind of keep in mind that it needs to make a call to those two associated models, those two associated records, the sponsor and the orphan, and tell them to update themselves. Mm-hmm. Whereas another way to do it would be to extract the whole thing into a service object, so that from the controller, for example, you just create, you don't create, so these are Ruby objects, they're not persisted to the database or anything like that. You just you call one of these from the controller, and your controller stays clean because all it says is create sponsorship. That's the method call. And then it's that object whose job it is to notify essentially the other two records that they need to update themselves as well. So it's you take the responsibility for updating sponsor and orphan away from sponsorship, and you give it to this dedicated service object.
And you code everything manually inside the service object, like all the relations and everything you want to change. And
well, it should be fairly straightforward because the methods for the sponsor to update itself and for the orphan to update itself remain with those models.
Mm-hmm.
The service object just calls to them and says, update yourself.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's the implementation that I've been thinking about.
This is good for when the clients want to delete the sponsors, I think, right?
I think it's basically one of the guidelines for when to use a service object is if you have a change that affects multiple models. So if something, you do something through the UI, for example, create a sponsorship or destroy a sponsorship, but you're not just creating a single object, you have to affect at least two other objects at the same time. And so you take the responsibility away from the sponsorship.
And where are these service objects? Where are they placed? What file?
You can put them anywhere in the app folder. You can create app services subfolder, and they will be automatically available.
Oh, so you create like a class, right?
Yeah.
Like the facade, for example.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly how it is.
And you just group the related logic inside one class.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, cool.
So yeah, I'm probably going to look into that a little bit more and maybe even implement it and then share the code, and we can see if that is a better way to do it, or we can stay with the current implementation.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it for me. I guess we're waiting now for sprint planning, and we need to talk about what's going to happen in phase 1. So until then, I'm probably not going to take any tasks that are currently in Jira because I won't finish them by the time we've officially closed this sprint. So
you're back on the OSRA now.
Yeah, I might not be as full-time as I was. It might take me a few days to get back, but yeah, I should be.
Cool.
Yeah.
So about this pull request that I'm working on, the adding pagination to the sponsors, I think. So I can move on with this. I have 2 questions. Not sure. Maybe you can help me to make a decision. So for the pagination, instead of sponsor all, we now have to do paginate to get the. Yeah. And there are 2 ways to do this. One is sponsor.paginate and one is sponsor.all.paginate. And in the partner index, we are using sponsor.all. Both of them are doing exactly the same thing. The SQL query is the same. So Brian says to only use one of them.
Okay.
So I don't know which one to use.
Well, if there's really no difference, then I would prefer to avoid just adding anything extra. So I would suggest that let's get rid of all and just use model.paginate.
Well, on the paginate, will paginate GitHub documentation, it says to use it like this.
Okay, well, all the more reason then I think to use this syntax instead of the other.
So then I will not change the partner index here because it's not the pull request for the partner, it's for the sponsor here.
Mhm.
How to approach this?
How to change it in the partner?
Yeah.
Um, you can put in. I don't even know if we really need a separate Jira task for this. You can just submit a very small pull request
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't have any Jira cross-reference. Just explain in the description what it's doing,
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay.
that's it. And maybe say that reference this pull request so that people can see that the two are related, and then that we're using the common style, common syntax.
Okay, what's this?
Do we want both copies?
Yeah. This is a little more. Actually, wait. Is there a? No. Okay. This is the sponsor index print screen, and
Mm-hmm.
in the users index print screen, at the top there's the name of the user or some info about the user, and underneath is this table that user has the sponsors connected to that user. So in the users index, there's info about the user and the sponsor that user has,
Right.
like this table. And Brian is asking if we need to use same partial for this table, or we should do two partials.
Um, I think that's ultimately the question more for the client. It depends on what information they want to see on the index page versus on the user show page.
Yeah, exactly. If it's not the same, then
Yeah.
mhm.
Um, we can, well, if the easiest thing right now is to reuse the same partial, and it sounds like it is, right?
uh, I yeah. It's the same partial.
Oh, but he's asking what, do we want both copies paginating to the same place? So he's asking, do we want the same number of sponsors?
Ah, I understand. So you say he says for the user, we don't even need paginate because there are not that many sponsors.
Well, there might be over time. If you have, like, if they're thinking about, if I remember correctly, something like 800 sponsors, and they only have, let's say, 10 users,
Uh-huh.
then that's still about 80 per user. So that's going to get pretty long. I think maybe his question is that we should paginate, but if on the sponsor index, if we paginate to, what is it, 16 or something like that?
It's 10.
It's 10, yeah. Then maybe on the user page, we should be paginating to less. I'm trying to understand what I think that's his point.
Yeah, I think so too. But I'm thinking that so the way this pagination per page number is set, this 10,
Yeah.
it's in the model, like self.paginate equals 10 or something like that.
But can you override it from here?
And I think I think we can overwrite it from here, like if we do per page, I think, or I'm not sure exactly the syntax, like 10 or
Yeah.
I don't know, 5, something like that.
Yeah. And I perhaps he,
I
yeah.
will check this.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
And
And
perhaps, sorry,
yeah,
go ahead.
I mean this should take care of the problem, right?
I think so, as I understand his comment.
Yeah.
And then the other point maybe is that because on the user show page you have active sponsors and inactive sponsors, right?
All right.
So maybe for the inactive sponsors, it's okay to only display, I don't know, 5 of them, because you don't really care about them. They're basically past records. Whereas for the current sponsors, maybe you want to paginate on 10 or 15 so that you see as many of those as possible on a page.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Great. So let's see if I have something else. Okay, I'll have to change all these instances into lets.
Yeah, yeah.
It's loading all of them even if they are not used.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about it.
What did Brian say about that, the instance variables? He's never been a fan. Okay, so yeah. Everybody agrees. Okay, sounds good.
Okay, cool. Okay, then I'll be fine changing this tomorrow, and maybe we can merge it.
Okay, sounds good. All right. If there's nothing else, then let's have a productive tomorrow, and hopefully retrospective and sprint planning tomorrow.
Okay, great.
All right, Christian. Have a good evening.
Okay, you too. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.